Welcome to today's session. And as we know, the topic is writing design case studies like a pro, writing design case studies like a professional. So this session is brought to you by the Creative Ferry Academy, and I am Oluwadamnola Shoyombo. I'm a UI UX designer and a design educator. It's so nice to meet you. I'm also the founder of TCK Zone, which is an NGO that trains kids in technology skills for free. So let's just dive right into today's topic so that we'll have enough time to discuss, ask questions, and also to take part in the activities. All right, so today, here are the things we're going to learn. We'll talk about what is a design case study, how should I structure my case studies. I would mention some examples or show you some examples of really great case studies. I would share with you resources that you can use. If you stick to the end, I have a gift for you, and we'll ask questions. All right, so I have some certain questions for you. I think the first question I would want to ask you is, what do you understand by the word design case study? So you can just drop it in the comment section. I want to hear your views. I want to know your thoughts. When you hear the word design case study, I know this is not the first time you're hearing it, because I want to believe the people listening to this topic right now are not like just starting out in their design journey. You've probably done one or two projects that you want to write a case study for, right? So that is so I believe this is not a new word. I just want you to share your thoughts with me. Okay, what do you think, or like what comes to your mind when you hear the word design case study? Design case study. All right, just share it in the comment section. And also the second question would be, what has been your greatest challenge when it comes to writing design case studies? I know a lot of us have completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different projects, or we've created our portfolios and we've written out one or two things in there about the project we carried out, right? But just share with me, okay, what has been your greatest challenge when it comes to writing design case studies? Apologies for the typo there. So yes, when it comes to writing design case studies, what has been your greatest challenge? I would like to know so that I can respond and I can put that into consideration in like next sessions. All right, so what is a design case study? What is a design case study? I know some of you have dropped a lot of interesting things in the comment. I'll make sure I go through it and respond to them. So what is a design case study? Choptal is a design it's a design, they have a very wonderful design blog, let me just put it like that. And their definition for what a design case study is, it is a detailed account written in the designer's own voice that explains the client's problem, the designer's role, the problem solving process, and the project's outcome. So we're going to take note of a few things here, or a few keywords from this definition. Okay, so one is, it is a detailed account, so take note of that, detailed. Two, it is written in the designer's own voice, so it has to be like you are telling a story, like you as a designer are sharing like what you did on that project. Okay, it examines the client's problem, so take note of that, client's problem, the designer's role, like what was your role in that project, the problem solving process, all the processes you took in solving that particular problem that they had at the initial phase of the project, and then the project's outcome. So let's take note of those keywords. Another definition is by format, and it says a case study typically outlines the problem or assignment. Okay, it outlines the problem or assignment, right? And it shows off your solution. So there has to be a problem and there has to be a solution. right? And it then explains your approach. Okay, how did you as a designer move from the problem? What were the processes you followed in order to get to your solution? What was your own specific approach in solving that problem? All right, so take note of all of these definitions. It's going to help us when we start creating our design case studies. All right, another definition is by Cassiheld. A case study provides a great roadmap of what went right and what the designers on what value the designers provided and why, right? So it's like seeing a revolutionary history of a particular lesson that you learned over the course of your project. Like, okay, you're thinking back to, you've completed a project, you're thinking back, your case study helps you realize or helps you account for all the lessons you have learned over the course of the project. So let's take note of all of these definitions and have it at the back of our mind. So if you don't have a pen and a paper yet or a note, you might want to grab one so that you would be able to jot down some of these keywords or some of these things I'm mentioning as we proceed. All right, so now we know the definition, we know what a case study is, right? We've looked at least 3 different definitions now, right? So we're getting an idea, we're already getting there. So a case study starts with a why. Take note of that. A why, then the how, and then the what. Okay, the why. Oh, why are we solving this? What was the problem behind it, right? Okay, the how, what were the processes, the steps you took, and the what was the final solution that was built around this. Okay, so it starts with the why, it moves to the how, and it ends with the what. So that's why a good case study is like a good story, right? A story needs to have a beginning, a middle, and a plot, which is like the end. So your case study needs to come across as a story. It needs to be interesting, explaining like the problem, your process, and the solution. Right? Problem, process, and solution. Let's take note of that. All right, so how should I structure my case studies? How should I structure my case studies? Right? A very effective case study covers like 3 essential parts, like I mentioned. Why, how, what. Write that down so you don't forget. Why, how, what. But that is not all. Okay, there's still a lot of things. Like if you break down these 3 major things into smaller pieces, you have a lot of sub-headings that you have to like talk about when you're writing your case studies. All right, so how should I structure my case studies? So Rachel, who is a UX designer at Google, shared a post one time ago, and she mentioned some of these points, so I'll just be sharing it with us. So one point you need to take note of is what problem were you trying to solve, right? So you need to really state that out. Okay, what problem were you trying to solve? What were the important constraints? Okay, what were the limitations? What were users finding difficult to do, right? Or what did the clients want to make better or easier, right? So you need to write that out. Okay, what was the problem? You need to clearly explain that. Next thing you need to talk about is what was your role? What was your role? Were you part of a team, or were you the primary designer? How many people were on the team? Or were you the only one on the design project? So you need to explain, okay, and if you were a team, like what exactly did you do? Did you what aspects did you handle in the project? Did you take care of the user research aspect? Did you take care of the low fidelity aspect? Like you need to really specify what your role was, right? After that, talk about your design process. What did it look like? Okay, so this part is going to include a lot of things from your research, right? If you carried out your competitive analysis, right? If you drew out like user flows or user architectures or information architectures or user stories, like any of those things, or if you had sticky notes from brainstorming sessions, like include all of them at this part, right? Talking about your process. Okay. Oh, what was the lesson you learned from like mapping out the problem space? All right. Did you have any design workshops or design sprints? Like, what were the major takeaways from all of those sessions? Did you have user interviews? Right, what were the major take points or take homes or takeaways from those sessions that you had? So you have to list all of these things here carefully so that it clearly explains your process, so people know, okay, these were the things this designer did, right? Also, this process part now contains your sketches, your mock-ups, your prototypes, and if you have any interaction like explorations, any videos, like any clickable or click-through prototype, like just put down everything here. Then documentation of like the iterative testing part. Okay, did you carry out usability testing? What tools did you use? Right, so list all of that here. Try to explain your process, your story, and then your final screens. Okay, so having all of these things, you need to clearly state them here, right? Talk about your process. I see some case studies whereby the designer just puts screens, final screens, onboarding screens, this on screens, and not really explaining the process. It's not just about displaying screens all over or all that. You need to talk about, okay, the process, how each of the actions you performed affected the design, right? So we need to know that, right? A recruiter or a design manager looking to hire would look out for all of these things. All right, so what are the next things? All right, so how did you the main insights from your research drive the decisions you made in the design? So you need to take note of that. Okay, from your research, it could be quantitative research or qualitative research, whichever one you carried out. You need to really analyze, okay, the insight and how it affected your design in the long run, or the decisions you made on the designs, right? So okay, users found it difficult to do this and that. That was why I positioned this button in this place. So all of those stories, all of those insights, right, find a way to express them on the case study. Okay, how did you solve problems specific to the interaction models of visual design? Like I said, okay, if the problem, for instance, had to do with a button or the color of a text or all of those things, how did you solve those things? What UX method did you use? What brainstorming method did you use? Like what principles guided your decisions? So you need to list out all of these things and clearly like explain them. Okay, all right, then last but not least, how did you solve any implementation challenges? Okay, during the course of the project, did you experience any challenge, and how did you go about solving the challenge? So was there any difficulty? Okay, was there a difficulty with like the developers handoff, or users found it difficult to use some things and all of that, like different challenges you might have faced in the course of the project? Okay, so just try to list them out here and mention how you solved it or how you look to solve it. Right, then if the product has been launched or released, all of that, you can also put down like, okay, post launch feedback as well, or numbers, or how the product is doing. You can as well have that on your case studies. All right, so this is like just a typical way of like structuring your case studies to make it interesting, like a story, to make it as detailed as possible. So at this point, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the comment section, I will definitely look at it and respond to those questions. All right. So this is so I just summarized, okay, the process, like in summary, things you need to have. Okay, so introduce the client. Okay, who was the project for? Start with the summary, right? Start with summary of the project. Oh, this project, this covers this and this and that. Present the design problem. Okay, recap your role. Don't forget that. Recap your role. What was your specific role in that project? What exactly did you do? Right, I know sometimes, so some of us, we probably handled the entire project. Just write it there as well. All right, then I like the goals you want to achieve at the end of the project. Okay, walk us through the steps of your design process, like all the steps you took. All right, the steps you took. Note any key learnings, or did you learn anything along the way? Also highlight the challenges you faced and how you solved them. Then if there are any post-production success, as I mentioned, yes, feel free to share them with us. Then wrap it up with a short conclusion. So this is typically all there is to writing a very good case study. All right, I'll be sharing with us some good examples that I want us to explore and take a look at. All right, so these two examples have been referenced by so many other designers as being really great. So we'll be looking at them together to just reiterate on all the points I've mentioned. All right, so the first example, so this is Kurt's Winter. So just be looking at one of his case studies. All right, so you see here it has the clients. All right, as I said, you might want to include what the client was, a summary, right? Then his role. Okay, what was his role on the project? All right. All right, it also added links to like the live apps, so you might also want to do that. So this so in between like every of the story, it just added like some images that actually shows like the process or the final product. So you can see here the problem statement. All right, the problem statement. Okay, what were they trying to solve? What was the problem users were having or the clients was having? What exactly did they want to solve? So that's the problem statement. All right, next up, the project goals. The project goals. Okay, at the end of this project, should the user be able to do, or what are the goals the client needs, or what are your goals, like at the end of this project? What should people or users be able to do? All right, so project goals, as I said, like in between, it just put in some screens, like from its processes. Right, so here we can see the style guide. We can also see that this is style guide. Right. All right, so research methods. Okay, so now talking about this process, right? The research methods are carried out. You can see it in so you can see here customer interviews, prototyping, testing, customer journey, like the different things he did, okay, when he was working on this. All right, so the core user needs, all of this is still from his research, just trying to highlight all of that. Then yeah, this talking about this process it designed. Okay, so following the user interviews, what was the summary, what were the findings and all of that. So just listen all of that down, and sharing some screens as well, like it's telling a story, like you need to be sure you're actually telling a story. Then you can see here is learnings. Okay, what were his key learnings? All right, what are the key learnings? Then as I mentioned, you might also want to share, okay, the challenges we faced, then like if there are post-production success, also mention that. As I said, no two case studies might look alike, right? It's always a personal thing. As I said, it's said in the designer's own voice. So the process you took for your design might be different from the process I take for my design. And the process I take from one project to another might actually also be different, right? So you need to write down your case studies in your own voice, right? And but ensure you just follow this points that I mentioned. So this is also a designer. Kristen Yun is a well-known designer. I think she's currently at LinkedIn, if I'm right. Okay, so let's just check out one of our case study. So the goal, all right. So she had summary, the goal, our role, the product lens, the tools she used. Okay, so our research, all right, a wireframe. So this was the process she took, right, for this project. So take note of that. A wireframe created a mood board, the usability testing, okay, the design principles she followed, the final concept she came up with. All right, so as I said, it's should be written in your own voice. So take note of that and do not forget that. And some of us might have questions, but don't worry, as I said, just put them down in the comment section. I would love to attend to them. So I shared with you like some examples. You can also check out for more examples, right? More good examples. Take note of that. Don't not just search randomly. For examples, try to look for good examples. All right. All right, so yeah, this is the part where I said I have a gift for you at the end of yeah, this session. Yes, so I have it for you, a design case study template. So I'll be sharing the link below in the comment section, or sorry, in the description section rather. So I'll be sharing a link to that. You can just duplicate it. It's going to be a Figma community link, so you can just duplicate it and work around with it. I'll show you what it looks like right about now. All right, let's see what it looks like. All right, so this is what the design case study template looks like. So you can just fit in your, for every project you have, you can just fit in like where your process is into this, right? So as I said, your name, title of the project, the design summary, the product summary rather, all right, your role or the team, the tools you use, the client, the date, duration, the problem statement, your goals, your process. This is research, right? So this is a template you can just follow, right? As I said, it has to be in your own voice. So for every project, you can just work with this while you write your case study. So I think the tags I'll be giving us, yes, I always love giving my students, or yes, tags for every session. So the tags I'll be giving to you is pick out one project that you've worked on before and write a case study for it. And yes, how do you submit? Yeah, you can reach out to me on any of my social media links. I'll share that with you, right? So just pick out any project you've worked on, okay, and try to not try now, and create a case study for it, right? As I said, it needs to have a beginning, middle, and an ending, right? It needs to be a story. You need to clearly state out like your process, the problem, the process, the solution, right? So you can, this template serves as a guide for you. You can follow this template in creating your case study, but I would love to see a case study you are going to create at the end of watching this session. All right, so let's dive right back in. All right, so if you have questions, yes, please drop them in the comment section. I would really love to hear from you, and also connect with me You can connect with me at Damchiriambo underscore Twitter, Instagram, then on LinkedIn, Oluwadamilashiriambo. You can also share your design works with me as well. And also ensure you tag at Creative Fairy in your submissions as well. I can also pick it up from there at Creative Fairy so if you are new to design and you're also watching this, or if maybe this session is probably super interesting and you would like to learn more, please reach out to at Creative Fairy, and you might want to take my UI UX design specialization course, which is going to give you more insight about UI and UX design in the entire process. All right, so I really appreciate your time listening to this. As I said, don't forget, connect with me on social media and those connect with that Creative Fairy. Shout out to Creative Fairy Academy and the wonderful students we have. Yes, so thank you very much for listening. I'll see you next time.